Okay guys, so I just got a weighted shift knob for the Fiesta ST in from BilletWorkz. I think the listing or the sale page or whatever it was said it was 500 grams, but I think I've seen 450 as well. But either way, quite a bit heavier than anything I've had. I think I tried the Mountoon one, and I think it was maybe 130 grams. So I ended up taking that off because the stock knob was heavier than that. But this sucker, dang. Yeah, this is hefty. I also had the Mojo extended, and that was maybe 100 and I don't know. It wasn't even 200 grams. This sucker, yeah, this sucker's awesome. This is nice and hefty. Got it in this nice powder-coated red. You can see that this particular design requires adapters. Looks like basically thread this guy on down to the spring, but we'll install it. But I think you thread this down to the reverse lockout spring, and then bring this guy, this is actually the adapter for the threads on the knob, bring this guy down to it, and you're going to basically unthread this one, whatever it takes, and then tighten the two nuts against each other to get to the point where your shift pattern is going to line up properly. But this is sitting out in the heat, in the middle of the Arizona summer, so it's getting pretty hot here. I'm a little concerned. Most of these metal shift knobs get pretty hot here, but to get this kind of weight for this price, this is about $80. I think it's going to be worth it. The only other option is, because it's a stainless steel, get the weight. I think Race Eng or Race Inge, they make a similar knob. I think it's a similar weight. It may be a little bit lighter, but they have a plastic thread on cover to keep the heat down, but it's $150, so this is significantly cheaper. So we'll see how this goes. Go ahead and install it. Okay, so the first step putting the shift knob in is obviously removing the old one. If this is a pain, depending on how many times you had the knob off, I think the first time I did, I needed to use a strap wrench, just wrap around it and pop it free, and then it unthreads pretty easily. Get that guy off, and then you want to take the nut with the flat bottom. Basically, I forgot what they call these, but it's flared out with essentially a washer built into it. You want to thread that guy on. You want to get him all the way down to the bottom of the threads. And honestly, I'm not even going to snug it up. I'm just going to go hand tight because I'm sure I'm going to have to adjust the little thread adapter up or down to get the knob alignment and the shift pattern the way I want it. So the next part is take your thread adapter, have the flat portion, the unthreaded portion on the bottom, so your shift knob can actually thread into it. Thread that guy all the way down. So the thread adapter is 17 millimeter. I believe this nut is 18 millimeter. So unfortunately, I don't actually have an 18 millimeter open-ended wrench. So I'm using a crescent wrench for the bottom, and then I have a 17 millimeter wrench for the thread adapter. So we're going to go ahead and get our shift knob and see how the shift pattern lines up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity to weigh the factory versus the BilletWorkz knob. Factory knob is 1.53 grams, 1.54. Back to 0. And the BilletWorkz is 396, so not quite as heavy as advertised. I think they advertise it somewhere. One thing shows 500. I think their site may show 450. So we're seeing pretty close to 400 grams. So that's significant. 396 for the BilletWorkz, and 153, 154-ish for the stock. So it's more than twice as heavy. So it's a nice weight increase. So with everything just kind of preset, or just kind of threaded down to the bottom, now we're going to go ahead and see where this lines up. And you can see that's not going to work. So we're going to have to back out probably a turn and some change to get it where we want it to be, but I'm just going to play a little bit and see what it takes to get these to line up. So what we need to do is loosen the top thread adapter and then just back out the bottom flared nut a little bit, and then tighten this guy back down, and then just get kind of hand tight on top of each other, and then we'll try the knob again, see if this is about where we want it to be. And we're going to have to repeat this process, loosening, maybe tightening, so I think we're going to have to loosen it up a little bit more, because I don't think I'm going to get there by tightening it. Quite a few threads, and with the weight of this thing, you got to be careful. You don't want to just drop it. Oh, you see, the adapter came with it, so I'm going to have to get that out of there. So having the adapter, it's not stuck, but having the adapter stay in the knob was kind of a mixed blessing in a way, because kind of gave me another way to do this. It's a little bit easier. With this guy seated in the knob, you can then just adjust your little nut here. It is a little more wobbly when you try to engage it, so just be careful, because you don't want to drop your new expensive knob, and then just thread it on so you get it engaged, and that is crazy close. So we're going to go ahead, now we're going to go ahead, and we have the location for the nut down there, and we're going to go ahead and remove the adapter from the inside the knob, so we can use the 2 wrenches and cinch this down on the shifter. This is where you got to be careful, because it gets real wobbly real quick once it gets loose. See, there we go. So what I'm going to do, since we have it aligned pretty well, is I'm just going to back this guy out just a hair, so when we're tightening it, we don't lose our position. Now, hopefully, you know, the clockwise rotation will center it up real good. We just get a good grip on it, and get it nice and tight and keep it aligned. So I'm going to get that adapter out, and then we'll tighten this up. Now that we have our thread adapter out, we're going to go ahead and use our 2 wrenches, and I'm going to have to do this off camera to tighten this guy into position. So obviously you're going to use your lower wrench on the flared nut, hold it in position, and then tighten the thread adapter against it. And hopefully we'll align back where we had it rough fit. So for any final tweaks, just like slight adjustments, you should just be able to take your wrench, give it a little bit of a movement. That base nut's so tight, just give it a little bit of a tweak over, and then tighten the bottom nut up, and you're good to go. So we have this guy pretty centered up. So once you get everything aligned the way you like it and tightened up, again, make sure, we'll say this is a little rougher than for reverse. Dang. Than the factory setup. Oh, that's why. Okay, make sure you look out for things like this. A little spring popped up. Where's that guy when I was tightening it, I guess? Oh, that's much better. So that's an interesting little feature there you got to be aware of. So, and it keeps binding. So I think I need to make sure that this spring, there we go, is rotated in the proper place. I feel like that's holding a little better, but I'll have to watch out for that. So if this thing does get stuck, that's something to look out for, is that spring lip getting caught. I think it was when I ran that nut down the first time, it kind of got on the edge, so hopefully it stays where it's at now. So once you get them all tightened up together, so again, you're going to tighten these nuts against each other, so you're going to hold the base in place and tighten this guy. Or the other way around is, if you found your position, you can hold the top in place and tighten the base up against it. When you're fine tuning it, that's easier to have the thread adapter exactly where you want it and tighten the base nut up against it, so you hold the position that you like. So when I did it, you can see I set it up to be just a little bit off, and there it is. You know, it's about the best I could get playing with it. It's not perfect, but you could spend all day back and forth trying to get this thing adjusted to be perfectly center. So yeah, so this is a nice shift knob for about 80 bucks. It's nice and heavy. Feels like the engagements are a lot better, and yeah, now with that little first lockout spring in a happy place, everything feels pretty good. So yeah, again, this is the BilletWorkz weighted shift knob. I think they have it in red and black. The other BilletWorkz knobs, I think, are only 200 grams, so they're probably about the factory weight. So if you want to get more weight in your shift throw, you're going to have to go with this weighted knob.